Good morning, viewers. It's a very early 3 a.m. here in Sydney. Strangely enough, I actually haven't set an alarm to catch this one. I just fell asleep quite early last night. Probably, well, early for me, before 10 p.m. And then I've kind of woken up and not been able to sleep. And happens to be there's a Crazyhouse World Championship candidates match on. I'm trying to keep my voice down so I don't wake up the house. But we've got Fumitoks versus xuanet. Game is about to begin. Good luck to both players. I unfortunately seem to have just missed Little Plotkin versus Clearcast. I saw that Plotkin won 7.5 to 2.5. Let's just bring up the scoreboard briefly so you can see that. Here's the latest result. So Plotkin, scoring a few wins just recently. He won against Sexy and I Know It 7-3, and he won against Clearcast 7.5 to 2.5. So he's on 2 out of 5. So well done to Plotkin. Apologies I didn't get to catch any of his matches so far, but let's go to Fumitoks versus xuanet. We've got d4, both of them going for g3, g6. Quick pace. Okay, now xuanet, known as one of the most aggressive players, but Fumitoks also well known in that department of the game for being aggressive. Okay, I feel, this is a trade-off that's probably favourable for white. White picks up a bishop, but also gets to improve this. So now white's just returned the favour on h6. Knight on f5 and c6 hitting d4. If d5, maybe knight e5. Very solid from both players. Yeah, I think d5, maybe knight e5, something like pawn at g4. And you're asking where this knight's going to go. And knight e2, that's interesting. He's blundered a pawn because knight at e2 wins the queen. So knight at e7, king h7 is still safe. It's not a real threat. White probably wants a pawn here. Black would like to put a pawn here, but then after takes, the e2 square is no longer vacant for a knight. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the games in this match because both players are very capable with aggression and tactics. So we could see some pretty fiery matches here. So bishop at e6. He's just looking to undermine d5. Takes, pawn at g7. I think if you're black, you got to take the knight. And then pawn at g7, you just take it. Again, bishop at h6, you retreat. You'll have the rook to recapture. Alright. What's he thinking about? Is he thinking about pawn at h3? Right, because he's xuanet and he likes the most aggressive move. I just feel knight takes e6 is letting white off the hook a little bit. Wow. Okay. Straight for the attack. So he's looking at check, takes. I'm thinking knight takes d4 here. Takes, queen takes f1. And Fumitoks is probably giving knight takes d8 a good look, but I think g takes f1 is very dangerous. Takes, knight takes f3, king g2, knight at e1. So I feel like knight takes d4 allows you to capture the knight without being forked by knight at e2. And then queen takes f1 covers the king side nicely. Alright, but going for h7 and the rook, I didn't see that one. So you could just be defending with rook at h2. Queen takes d4. So why is he knight at e2 check? Maybe he thought he's gonna take the rook. Yeah, I don't like. Well, I suppose if he didn't do that, there was takes g2, pawn at e2. No, I think that's an oversight there. Yeah, this is better for black now. Oh wow, he could just take this. But he'd get in some trouble with knight at f8 if king g8, pawn at h7, pawn at h6 mates. So takes, knight at f8, takes the knight is important, and then king g8, pawn at h7 takes, and then the king runs out to e7. So rook takes f8, critical here. He finds the move. Here it should be king g8, yes. White's gonna run out of steam. So the queen, once the queen is taken, bishop at f3 will mate. If king g1, knight e2. If king h3, queen at g4. So yeah, I was liking white for a moment there after knight takes d4, but yeah, that was the problem. When the queen took on d4, white lost the queen and didn't really get enough back in return. Alright, thanks OK. OK saying he did some kind of stream for Little Plotkin vs Clearcast, but there were some tech issues. Yeah, if there was one match I thought I was going to catch, I thought it would be the Plotkin match versus Clearcast, but I fell asleep early, and then I've now woken up at a time I didn't expect. Okay, so Fumitoks not made it by force just yet, but down a ton of material. Xuanet still has to convert. I think you just keep hitting f3. It should be something like bishop at c6. You could also play knight takes f3. Pawn at g4 is fine. That also hits h3. Hey Oppa, how you going? That's Shaker90 in the chat. I thought maybe queen takes b7. No, Fumitoks is out of pieces here. Knight at h3 is mating. Okay, Xuanet's going to win this first game. Alright. e4, d5. Game 2. Alright, so we're seeing some of this d5, queen e6. I like to play queen e2, but bishop e2 should also be playable. So the queen going to g6, just hitting this, which is a little bit annoying because you're asking white to play pawn at g3 and not have a pawn in hand. Xuanet doesn't like that, so he's playing a very active path, but I just feel like this might be giving up a pawn and maybe black can hold on to it. But Fumitoks going straight for the capture. I thought queen h3 and pawn at g4 threatening to take h2 was also quite reasonable. And even there, instead of knight f6, pawn at g2 was perhaps interesting. If something like queen at g3, maybe pawn at h3, queen takes c7, knight c6, and then black's kind of threatening to play rook at h1, and it's hard to defend the back rank. Maybe there was like bishop b5, rook at h1, knight e2. That's probably quite good for white. Okay, but anyway, knight f6, pawn at e5. Wow, Fumitoks also playing very actively, offering to give up a knight here. Yeah, these guys aren't really respecting material. They're playing for activity. Hi Jack, how you going? Yes, it is 3 AM in the morning here. Okay, d4, bishop d7, so just leaving the knight hanging here. Yeah, I mean this is what's interesting in differences in styles. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to lose this pawn on g2, and then I probably wouldn't have sacrificed the queen on g1. So neither Xuanet or Fumitoks would agree with my style of play. Okay, knight b5, knight a6. Capture is now played, opening up this line, but the rook also opens up. You could tuck the bishop away on g3, or you could bring the knight out. So Xuanet's got a queen and a knight in exchange for 2 pawns and a rook. So I reckon, yeah, white's basically up. If you make a rook and a knight fairly equivalent, white's up a queen for 2 pawns. Okay, he's got the bishop, so he's looking for some attack. So if h takes, pawn at h2. If f takes, e3 it would open up. Rook at h1. Pawn at h2 repeats. I would have thought queen at h1 maybe, then at least when there's a queen on g1 you stop pawn at h2. Now rook at g1. I mean, Xuanet's given Fumitoks quite a bit to work with. I think Fumitoks would be happy with this. He's got now some activity here, bringing this one out. I think black stands better here now. I think there's been too much allowed with pawn at h2. Now nothing decisive yet, but it's just assessment of the position and material. Black's regained the queen in hand and has, you know, the white king's less safe than the black king. Now, what's a move you would never play? Castle's queenside. So rook at a8, knight b8, knight takes a7 is mate. So just gotta keep an eye out for those tricks. Okay, this is good. Penetrating dark squares. I think rook at g8 is in order. You want to, with black having so few pieces in hand, that bishop's actually critical to making more ground. So you want to take that bishop out of black's hand so you can make him put it on a passive square. That's what rook at g8 is for. So xuanet holding on here. I mean, he's just, if black had another pawn, it'd be a bit more difficult. It could be bishop c6 here. Might have to be patient, but I wonder if bishop takes a6 is good enough. You could probably just take on e4, pawn at d7, king d8. Alright, he uses the queen instead. Yeah, I'm just concerned Fumitoks could run out of pieces here. It's really close. And if you're putting the queen on the board, I think queen at d5 should have been considered because of this pin. This is also on offer, which is actually quite strong. Queen at d5 I would have given some consideration to as well. No, this is also a really good move. I would have considered something like pawn at f3, not putting the queen on f3 where it can be traded. So what here? Takes knight at d5, knight at d5 straight away. Oh, he's given a lot of room to move. Queen takes, knight at c4. Looks like mate. King here, queen at d2. The knight's covering e3, so it's not quite mate. You've got to be careful here. Fumitoks can lose this at the back as well. Queen at d2. I think, yeah, you got to... Okay, he's found a way to grab this. I think you just take the knight on e3. You can't leave here because of knight at g7 is... Yeah, this should be taken. Pawn at d7, nice move. He's trying to win the queen. Ooh, sharp. Okay, but black's got lots of minor pieces here. White king looks safe. This is really interesting. It's going to come down to the wire. Okay, he's got to take that. Oh, it's tight here because no, there's no way to hit d7 without allowing black to defend. Whoa, that's a free queen. Okay, this is going to be Fumitoks's now. Bishop takes e6. No, king takes e6. Okay, maybe he saw knight at e5. Ah, that he could have lost that. Wow, I would have lost that. There was a neat mate with knight at e5. If you went bishop takes e6, knight at e5, king e8, rook takes f8, king takes f8, queen at h8, block on g8, bishop at g7, king e8, queen takes g8, block at f8, queen takes f8. But Fumitoks saw it and he went king takes e6 instead, very accurately avoiding knight at e5. That was a nice finish there. Yeah, I thought xuanet was maybe getting out, but Fumitoks kept the pressure on. This is why this is going to be a really interesting match, because these two are both so aggressive, and you've just got to get it right in those time scrambles. Okay, a6. Stopping knight b5, which is quite reasonable. So you could play. I was thinking something like maybe queen c1. Okay, going aggressive. So if takes, there could be some kind of takes here, takes on c7, and then pawn at b6. So xuanet decides not to allow the d file to open up. And sometimes here, like, white doesn't mind if black captures this knight, because it's just fortifying the king side. In this case though, Fumitoks opting to bring the knight forward, e4 is opening up. I like Fumitoks' play with d5, really opens up the position. So bishop takes e4, bishop takes h3. Alright, knight takes f7 first, pawn at e6 to block this off. Then maybe thinking about taking here. So xuanet may take this bishop. Yep, that's an aggressive kind of move. Knight takes d5 possibly to undermine e6. I think knight takes d5 is in order here. I don't see how black can form an attack. But you've got to be careful. There could be some tricks. I don't know if rook at e8 or something. I don't think that worked. White was a pawn short, but xuanet's gone for a safer option. Knight on f6, covering e4, but also supporting d5. There's the trick I was talking about, rook at e8. But the pawn is now in hand, you see. It didn't work a move earlier. If you went knight takes d5, bishop takes d4, then bishop takes e6 would seal off f7. This has allowed white to win the queen. So I said knight at f6 was safer. Maybe it wasn't safer, it was just a little bit slower. Knight takes d5 may have been a little bit more accurate with the tactics. So if you're new to the channel or you've just joined, this is these are candidates matches for the Crazyhouse World Championship. There are 11 candidates. If you're on Lichess, you can check out my profile, and there's two key websites. Just have a look here. If you just have a look here, there's a candidates calendar, there's a link there, and there's also the Crazyhouse World Championship cross table, which is here. You can check all of the latest scores. At the bottom right of the screen, just that way, you'll see there's a candidates appreciation fund. We've made more than 50% of the target, $1,111 to signify 11 candidates playing. As I say that, Electric Masada just subscribed again. Thank you, Electric Masada. Now 7 months in a row. That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for the support. But yes, $101 to each candidate if they can complete all of their 10 matches. That's an incentive to help all the candidates keep going. Some of the candidates have had a rough start. They've lost their first 2 or 3 matches, and have still played on and won a couple. I know Little Plotkin has just won his last 2 matches after losing his first 3. So well done to Little Plotkin. Basically, by the end of this event, these are basically the top 11 Crazyhouse players in the world, based on the tournament conditions, and where you finish in this candidates pretty much places you in your world ranking. So yeah, there's a number of strong players that haven't made it to the candidates, but it's not just how well you're playing, it's also about being able to stick with it and maintain the commitment to playing all of the games. No, this is nearly mate. Like there's some cheeky mate, knight at e7, king here, pawn at g6, knight f7. But if knight at e7, then black could have gone to f6. I think Xuanet's going to be able to hold this one. E4 check. Mate isn't, there's not enough on the board. And basically what happened is Xuanet was just pushing aggressively with all the minor pieces. While white won the queen, white couldn't establish mate. And even after taking this knight on e4, pawn at g2 was just so strong because of the rook at h1 threat. So it's just pure aggression versus pure aggression, and it's really entertaining to watch. Ooh, you got to be careful. If king h4, knight f5 takes, pawn at g3 is mate. So I think black should back off here. Whoa. He's got to go this way. I thought he should have gone king g6. Yeah. Queen takes. Yeah, the safe path is f6, e7. Come on, time's ticking. You gotta go. f6, e7. Xuanet's clock is worrying me here. Okay, now he's gonna try to put on the mate. He's got two queens in hand. He should have enough here. Put a rook on g2, a knight on h4. Here's where it's just a little bit of instinctiveness will come into play. Pawn at g5, rook at h4. So you see how quickly Xuanet went at the end there. It's all instinct, where he knows he's got enough pieces. He doesn't necessarily have to calculate the mate, but he just knows where he needs to put the king. And he moves forward 2-1. So black has won all three matches so far. Pawn at g3, he's decided against queen takes g2. But yeah, this isn't so bad for black. We've got, black has the pawn in hand. He's made white expend his pawn. Bishop f5. Now, bishop d3 is the only way you can cover c2. This is nice from black. Queen to d5, queen to e6, queen to g6. Taking away white's pawn and hitting c2. I like how Fumitoks thinks in the opening. It's original, and it makes sense. So A-Boss asking, hi guys, who won Fumitoks versus Oppa? Fumitoks was actually up 3-1, and really putting pressure on Oppa. And then Oppa Wezen, he won 6 games. He won like the next 5 games in a row. And then he was up 6-3, and then Fumitoks won the last game, so it was 6-4. Fumitoks was looking really dangerous. I gotta say that. I think Fumitoks probably had a good chance to get 4-1, and if he did, I think that would have. I think it was that 5th game probably really determined the outcome of that match, where Oppa Wezen could come back. Alright, Rower Boat Mofo says, hey John, could you put the donate link on the YouTube channel posts? It would make it a little easier to find. The link is actually, if you're watching now on Twitch, the link is right here on my Twitch page. It says you can donate to the candidates there. Yeah, Pethadine saying it was a brilliant series. It was a brilliant series. Yeah, Fumitoks is showing why he's deserved this spot here. He really played a good game, and if you look at the scoreboard, I mean, Oppa Wezen has beaten J Killer 12-teen, 6-4. Just about everyone else. Clearcast 7-3, GSVC 8-2, Xuanet 7-3, Master 10 8-2, Plotkin 8-2. I mean, he's for 5 games he's won by a margin of 4 or more. So Fumitoks at 6-4, is getting results very similar to J Killer and 12-teen. Even if it's a loss, it's a very close loss. So yeah, kudos to Fumitoks for his play earlier today. Now I know xuanet, he'll be thinking, can I play queen takes d5 and knight c7 and knight takes a8? And I think it's a bit too dangerous. There'll be knight at d3, with black will have a queen in hand. King d2, maybe you can survive that, but I don't think you're getting enough attack with a knight here. So knight at f4 is played. xuanet's given up the pawn on c2. I guess he didn't like his position after bishop d3. But honestly, I feel that Fumitoks has gotten some free development. Now, yeah, I don't know about bishop b4, because this knight's overworked. Queen takes b4 makes sense. He's considering pawn at d7 first. King here, queen takes b4. I feel like that's a bit of an oversight there. Bishop b4. See, now white's happy. He's messed up black's king, and he's regained his pawn. And white's pieces now look better coordinated than black's. Black's got these awful weaknesses. Now bishop at e7, king takes. I don't think it's leading to mate. I think queen takes e4 and bishop at a4 just to cover knight at c2 is quite reasonable. Also covers the pawn here. Yeah, xuanet will look for the most aggressive move though. That's why it's going to be interesting, where you see me playing something kind of conservative. That's probably xuanet's last option, so you'll see a vast difference in the move. Could be bishop at a5, that also defends the queen and it allows you to attack on e7. No, he's gone for this, but I don't know. Okay, so that's how he's covered the queen. That's his idea. So it's solid. I mean, white's really safe here. But, black's probably just up 2 pawns. So it takes. This is going to be defense against attack. All right. Fumitoks is holding on. Objectively, I think black is better here, and Fumitoks also has the time. Midnight Fox Dota is saying, did Fumitoks play on fix, or is he a new player? No, Fumitoks has played on fix. Yeah, Fumitoks is known as Gollum on fix. Gollum. Wow, he's cleaned up all the pieces. Fumitoks is looking good here. No, Fumitoks is an established player. He knows what he's doing. He's going to rip off all the pieces. Nicely defended by Fumitoks. I mean, it looked a bit ugly for his king after the queen takes b4, but that's where I felt maybe xuanet could have been a bit more conservative with material. But he went the aggressive path. Okay, a knight would mate on f2, but yeah, this is all over. Antic ZH says Fumi's opening queen maneuvers are masterful. Yes, they're very good. Okay, queen at e1, pawn at f2. That's it. And black has won 4 games in a row. So it's 2-all here. This is exciting. This is good Crazyhouse. So d4. So again, if you've just joined, you can support the candidates directly by donating at the button below. The incentive for the candidates is no matter what they score, if you finish 10 of your matches, you're entitled to your share of the candidates appreciation fund target of $1,111. So we've just got, maybe xuanet just needed a moment here. d4. Okay, d4, knight f6. Okay, he's opting for b6 this time. So opposing this bishop. So 2-all, very even match here. Black has won every game so far. Knight e4. Okay. I would have thought d6, knight d7, but f5 here. I already like white a little bit more. I just feel white's better developed. This looks like it's going to be a bit behind. There's a potential weakness here. And Fumitoks is up on the clock already. I just feel Fumitoks will be comfortable in this sort of position. Knight e5. I mean, it plays to Fumitoks' style here. It's just he'll really work an angle into these light squares, I feel. You could even trade off queens and then pawn at h6. This structure is just looking far superior to this one. White's got 3 pieces near the king. Black arguably only has 1. These two are on that side. So I feel like the trade of this knight on c3 has only helped white. White spent 1 move bringing a knight here. Black spent 3, and now both of them have a knight in hand, but Black's remove a piece from the king side. White gets to bring one from the queen side. So just from a strategic point of view, that's my assessment here, why I like white a lot more. And you know, you've got to back it up with the tactics and the actual path to a finish, but yeah, it just looks good. Queen c4 here I'd even consider. Yep. And you know, the threat is d6. Okay. Looks like something should hang here. But pawn at h6 is just fine. White gets in first. And at this level of play, you know, some of these games just get determined in the opening that quickly. For the reasons I've just explained. I mean, it kind of looks like one player attacked and the other didn't, but I think that's what really makes a difference. Just a little bit of understanding of the position in the opening. So pawn at g7, you know, white would love a rook. I mean, if you could grab this guy somehow. Okay, pawn at h3. Okay, the rook is being conceded. There's something dangerous here. Knight e5. No, that didn't quite work. Wow, he's given up the queen. So I think he figures knight at f6 or knight at h6 is enough to get mate. Okay, he's just gone for it. I don't think he's seen mate, but he just feels it's good enough. Bishop at b4 would win the queen. I'd say bishop at b4 is good enough to take the win. pawn at g7. You also got bishop at d4 check. Okay, he's gone a bit more direct. Pawn at g7. Looks very good for white here. Black is just one move short. The problem is black has no forced checks to get to mate. So white is always just one move from mate. Pawn at g7, king 8, rook at d8. Very hard to defend this. Pawn at e7 and pawn at g7, both there. I like that Fumitoks has made a practical decision. He's figured that's going to win. So pawn at g7, rook at f8, queen falls. There must be mate somewhere here. I just can't believe there's no mate here. Pawn at g7, rook f8, you win the queen. Fumitoks has definitely seen that far ahead. And then you have a knight and queen in hand. Queen at h8. Bishop at... Yeah, there's no easy mate here. Unless bishop g7 is mating. Because king e7, queen at f6, queen f8. So bishop g7 here, knight takes. King... Yeah, if king f7, queen here, knight at f6, queen d7 mates. So black king has to run up to e6, but then knight d4. Yeah, I think bishop g7 was mating there. But not easy to see, because bishop g7 takes, king f6, queen at g7, king takes, and then knight at d4 check, takes, would have been mate, and if king e4 you had knight d2 mate. So yeah, bishop g7 was a forced mate here, but this should be good enough as well. Queen g7, knight takes g8, or immediately knight takes g8. I still think white has this. So if you take here, you've got knight h6, bishop at g8. Queen g7. Oh, maybe black's holding on. I mean, that's what xuanet might be considering here. If queen g7 here, this is really sharp. This is really sharp. He's doing it. Okay, bishop at h6. What has he found? Oh, very nice. Knight at g7. Queen to... No. Oh, gosh. Yeah, does he have it? Knight h5. King takes e7. Queen f6. Ah, this is good enough. Black king has nowhere to run. He nearly got away, but this is nicely covering e7, the escape square for the king. Ooh, Fumitoks. Clutch. Fumitoks pulls out the win still. Yeah, maybe bishop g7 was a little less tight, but congratulations to Fumitoks. What a finish there. These guys... Well, okay. We've just had a donation. Better acknowledge that. Heiser Jack has donated $28. Phenomenal. And I like that. That's why is 28? Because it's bringing us to $600 on the target. Thank you so much, Heiser Jack. Appreciate your support. We're now at $600. Okay. xuanet's probably called for a quick break here. While he's doing that, I was just going back to this. Let's see if I can open this up in a new tab so we don't lose sight of the live matches. Yeah, I was saying here you've got bishop g7, and if king e7 you've got queen at f6, So you can shepherd the king to mate there. If you take, you've got knight takes f5. King can't come here because of queen at g7. This is no good because of knight at f6. So the king's got to run towards the open somewhere. But let's just check that I'm not missing. Oops, the action started again. But yeah, the line I saw that was critical was queen at g7, knight at d4, takes. So let's leave that there, the analysis board. We'll go back to the live match, e4, d5. So Fumitoks has drawn first blood with white. Okay, we're going back to this line, rook g1. Now he's decided with queen h3 this time. Pawn at g4 is a threat. So xuanet's just basically saying, well, I've got a bit of extra development here. And black now has to prove that he can make use of this extra pawn. My preference here is probably to take black, but that's possibly a style thing. I quite like to just have that residual advantage of one extra pawn and grind. Now this is a dangerous looking move. Knight e5 is to be respected here. Pawn d6 I think is absolutely called for. You can't allow that knight to get into e5. So d5. So pawn at e6. I mean, e6 looks natural. But, you know, xuanet's done well. I mean, he's getting black to be passive. This extra pawn doesn't really look like an asset. In fact, I feel pawn at b4 was possibly helping white a little bit. The idea Fumitoks will have had is that if you play knight f6, you get hit with pawn at e5. So he was trying to play pawn at b4 so that knight f6 hits the knight. And then you can't play pawn at e5, but then the knight comes here, and then white's getting very aggressive. So yeah, I don't know about allowing knight takes d5. Midnight Fox Dota just subscribed with a tier 1 sub. Thank you, Midnight Fox Dota. That's a second pawn here. Oh, knight takes f7. I just think xuanet's throwing a little bit too much. There's too much material, not enough compensation. Like bishop h5, pawn at g6, pawn at f7, king d8. I mean, he's given up 2 pawns here, then sacked a piece for a pawn, so he's down a whole piece and a pawn, and I don't think he has enough to show for it. It could be pawn at g6, knight takes h7, but then you just take this. No, I think Fumitoks is happy with his position. He knows he's got some extra material, and he knows he can hold on to it. Knight c6, or do you just keep taking things? You got to be careful. You don't want to give white too much counterplay. But that's another pawn. I like knight c6 because if you take here, takes, knight takes e5 is very strong. If ed, you can just recapture ed, then this check opens up and it covers your knight. So effectively, Fumitoks is holding onto the material on d5 while developing and the king's just so safe. I mean, you need a rook or a queen to make trouble on e8, and it's really hard for white to get to any of those pieces. So I'm tipping Fumitoks to go ahead 4-2 here. Yeah, knight takes e5, knight at e6. You can take, king c8. Bishop at c6 with bishop at c4 coming. This square is looking weak. I just don't think white has enough. So pawn at d7 maybe he's looking for, but the knight covers it anyway. Here you just got to decide if you want to attack or defend, and Fumitoks is not holding back. He's picked up some more material. Rook at g1. You know, you got two knights. If the king goes to e2 or d2, you've got knights for d4 and c4. Okay, there's nothing tricky here. You can't take this. Pawn at d7 because black's covering all of the important squares with the queen. LJH Chess, cheering 15 bits. Thanks for the support. Yeah, this looks like it's over. If king here, okay, he's going for it. King d8 looks safe. Ooh, bishop takes e7 would get mated though. Knight at e6, knight at c6, knight at b7, but he won't fall for that. So knight at c8, then you drop back to d8, and then white's one knight short of finding mate. Okay, knight at c4, but pawn at e7, you got to be careful there. You can't take with the queen or the bishop, you'll get mated. You have to take with e7. And then knight at c8 makes white expend one knight, and then back to d8. And then there's only two knights in hand, so you're missing one knight as white. What? Is that just losing a queen? No, he's got pawn at e2 for the mate. He's fine. Rook at d1. That was deliberate. He had to distract the knight from f3 to get the pawn on e2. And as predicted, Fumitoks up 4-2. Looking very strong. Shaker90 says, do you got plans to play Bughouse with Yasser at Janley Crazyhouse versus the Chess Bro or another team? Yeah, one day we'll make that happen, but I just need life and work to settle down a bit. Yeah, I could have easily been doing some work instead at this hour. I have enough work to do, but yeah, I mean I've been away from the streaming, so I figured I'd commit myself to doing some streaming in my out of office hours. Okay, so knight b4 is strong. Looks like it's hitting this. Maybe that's an oversight from Fumitoks. He could have played bishop f4 to allow rook c1. He's keeping a straight face with the attack here. But yeah, I mean, with regards to Yasser and Bughouse, I mean, we've said it's going to happen. It just has to happen one day. And Yasser's schedule is also very, very busy. We'll make it happen eventually. Just something to look forward to. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, look, there's plenty of content here with the Crazyhouse World Championship candidates, yeah, I mean, possibly within the next month or so, depending how long it takes for us to get through the candidates round. I'll have to defend my Crazyhouse World Championship title as well. I need time to get into form. I played an arena this morning and got absolutely destroyed by the field. I've only been playing in the arenas in the last few weeks, or otherwise commentating, and I feel it's had an impact on my form. Yeah, but not only that, there's just been a lot going on in life, so I need to get my head into gear for the final. Okay, I feel like white's very solid here. Fumitoks trying to make ground, but xuanet's keeping up with the defensive resources. He should probably allow that knight to be captured, like maybe pawn at g7. Doesn't have to. This is also good, in fact. Now white's just so safe that sometimes in these openings you can just play to sack, but if you don't get enough initiative and black can put these extra pieces on the board, I think black will be better in the long term to grind for a win. Looking at pieces, I think it looks like black's got a knight and a bishop for a rook. I'm going to back xuanet to take this one. 4-3 would be a nice scoreline for the viewers, make it nice and close. Fumitoks might be considering something here later. Queen takes, knight at g4, queen g7, maybe he's thinking of taking, but knight at f6, king h8, the queen's still covering all the mating spots. Queen takes d4 could be a bit greedy here. Queen takes c6, knight at f6. I don't like queen takes d4. I would have preferred queen g7, and I think that's actually really critical. Fumitoks was thinking about this when he played a3. He was trying to knock the knight back to make it accessible for the queen. Because now after capture knight at f6, you can't play king g8 because of rook at h7 mate. If knight at f6, queen takes, knight takes, king g7, queen at h8, king takes h8, king takes h8, rook at h7 is mate. That queen sack is necessary to stop the king running out to f6. So b takes c6 is going to get mated by knight at f6. The difference was if you put the queen on g7, queen takes c6 doesn't work because of knight at c6, king h8. And like I said, you're defended, and then black's still better on material. So he's had to admit he's made a mistake here. Defend, that's correct from xuanet, but I just feel that's the kind of thing that just lets the opponent back in. Queen takes d5 here. See, now Fumitoks is happy. He's still got his safe king and he's got initiative. You can't take this because of knight at f6. Well, you can take it, but the attack rolls on. You can grab this. Whereas if you play queen g7, white was just starting to run out of material. I think that's just so critical, the difference between queen g7 and queen takes d4. And particularly at this stage of the match, if Fumitoks can get to 5-2, he guarantees he's got half a point, he's confident. The likelihood of winning and getting to 6 games is just so much more likely. There's like mate here, pawn at h7, knight at g5, king h7, rook at h7, king g8, queen takes f7, and just like that, xuanet lost the game. And knowing xuanet for a long time, I sometimes feel like that's possibly one of his weaknesses, that he always pushes forward for an aggressive move, and sometimes he just needs to step back just one move, because he defends very well as well, don't get me wrong, but it's just sometimes that one extra defensive move that he doesn't play, and that's where he came undone there. So hats off to Fumitoks for converting that initiative when he was down on material. Okay. Fishy suggesting Janli plus Hansen versus Yasser and Aman. Yeah, I'm not sure what the match would be if probably be Yasser plus myself. Danielette donated $10. Thank you so much. It takes us to $610 on the Candidates Appreciation Fund. There's no donation too large or too small. Every bit is appreciated much by the candidates. So pawn of d6. So again, we've got an extra pawn. So pawn on b4 hasn't been placed there. I think that's an improvement from Fumitoks. So Fishy says 7 queen takes g3 missed again. So maybe there's a line there. Queen takes g3. I'm okay with the way that Fumitoks has played this. This is how I'd go about it. But yeah, xuanet will also be looking to push all his pieces forward. Knight g5. So yeah, I mean, the funny thing is the organization of White's pieces doesn't particularly point at a target because Black doesn't have a weakness. So, you know, xuanet's just kind of throwing pieces forward here. He's developed just about everything. He could castle queenside. And xuanet's dangerous, you know. I think Fumitoks is taking his time here because doesn't take much for xuanet to break a position open. Is he thinking e5? DE, DE, you know, there's targets. No, he's gone pawn to b4. Pardon me. Okay, knight d5. So that's nice. He's, you know, black needs to just progress slowly here. You don't want to break the position open too quickly and be behind on development. And he's trapped this knight. I like Fumitoks' play here. He's just trying to use that extra pawn. You know, knowing xuanet will push pieces forward. Maybe he could have come to e4. But, you know, it's how do you just gradually chip away and take material. Knight at f4 here, so black's now a whole piece up. If knight at f4, I think xuanet will take this. Queen f3 also playable. But no, that's what I expected. He'd take this, recapture the pawn or recapture d4. Possibly d4. Fumitoks will be happy here. I'm thinking Fumitoks is good enough to slowly grind the material advantage. Even if d takes e6, you know, black could consider something like queen takes c2 because of queen at e2 check. Yeah, here queen takes c2 is possible. Knight at c7, but you could just take b6. You don't have to buy into that. I think allowing knight at c7 is just helping white. Queen takes b6 is just patient. Because queen takes c2, knight at c7 takes, b takes, knight at c2 check. You know, the king can still go to d1 and is safe there. Okay, but he's decided he's not going to recapture. He's going to go up here. Now if knight takes, queen takes d3 is very strong. Yeah. So, yeah, I was thinking of the lines where you recapture c7, but king e7 is good enough. That's very accurate for Fumitoks. He's just going for the kill. Could be... I don't know if queen takes d2 is anything. But queen takes d3 is the big threat. You support e2, you remove a defender, and you bring in an attacker at the same time. Now, if queen d3 here is knight d5 mating, you've got to be really careful. Because it could be king here, takes. King d7 is probably safe, but you'd be thinking twice. No, it's very dangerous. Queen takes d3. You could just be safe and take here. I don't know about queen at h1. Maybe he's trying to get white to expend a knight, but no, it defends d5. I think you should just take on e6 and pawn at e2. Okay, he wants to go for the kill. Knight d5 is no longer a threat. So this is how you have to take here, and then the queen is no longer under attack. Pretty sure Fumitoks will take this. Okay, he's gone for that. And now for d2. So that's nice. I mean, queen at h1 to defend on d5. Okay, rook at b1. Yeah. Checks will run out. Knight at d7. Well, you gotta go. Yep. You could still get in trouble if you're not careful, but that's mate. Fumitoks, 5 in a row there, beats xuanet 6 games to 2. Very impressive. Fumitoks. Yep. Welcome to the candidates, Fumitoks. Well played. Yeah, I mean, it would be really exciting if Fumitoks had pulled a win against Opelwezen. That would have really opened up the candidates at this late stage. But Opelwezen, hats off to him for holding strong, and in the face of danger, down 3-1 against Fumitoks, he came back to 6-3. And Opelwezen maintains his perfect 8 out of 8 score. Okay, so we've got a few dead rubbers here. 6 games to 2. We're going to see probably a little bit more loose play. There'll be possibly a little bit faster, a bit more aggressive, because the outcomes won't matter as much. But yeah. All the candidates are really top quality players. The quality of the matches is really good. I just feel like Fumitoks has been a little bit more accurate than xuanet here. Probably matched xuanet in terms of aggressiveness, but when it came to respecting material, I think Fumitoks just held on to material a little bit better than xuanet did. That was the difference today. Okay. Right. That's gonna seal it. Bishop takes a7, pawn at b6. And that's what I mean by the material. You just got the upper hand there. Just seeing these tactics. Oh, bishop b6 was nice. Traps the queen. Queen d6, pawn at c5. picking off a pawn is good enough, but that's the tactic I would have seen. Pawn at c5. That would be game over straight away. Bishop b6, pawn at c5. Okay, queen to f4. Well, so I'm blind, right? That square was still available to the black queen, but I think it would have got trapped anyway with g3. Okay, bishop at g5, looking for something. Queen at f2, covering all the material. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe bishop b6, queen d6, pawn at c5, queen f4, g3, h3, queen h5 was actually holding onto the queen. Maybe I was mistaken there. I missed the f4 square before. Okay, so that's sensible. See, this is Fumitoks just not letting xuanet get what he wants, and having the patience to grind. It's really solid. Okay, d5. I expect him to play c4. Just not allow any activity with knight takes d5, because that's where black gets to coordinate his pieces quite well. And as white, you've got to be patient here. Black has so much. Maybe Fumitoks figures that g6 opens up with this line if d5 is captured. So I guess b5 just stops c4. I mean, the question here is, how does white progress? g3, so covering. Excuse me. Covering the knight. Yeah, this is interesting because it's hard to break through. Even black might be able to play h5, bishop h6 here. It could be a reason why he's played g3 to get the knight back to g2. Yeah, h5, knight g2, bishop h6 was interesting because bishop d takes e3, knight takes e3, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, knight at g2 check. Could have been a continuation. I mean, it was kind of funny with h5. It felt like black could maneuver a little bit easier despite being down queen and a pawn for a piece. Okay, xuanet going for his aggressive play. What's a continuation? Knight at g1. Fumitoks just patiently absorbing the damage. I don't know if black can sustain this. Now, you don't want to open it up prematurely here as white. I think it would be wise to keep grinding. Even if it's pawn at f2 or bishop at c1, bishop at d2 is fine. You can castle at some stage. This rook file is open. But I think, yeah, even rook takes g1 is sensible. Okay, he's pushing on g6 now. You could play knight at h4. Just prepare hg. There's no need to rush here. What black would want is for white to open up too quickly. Maybe something happens on f1. LJ's chess, another 5 bits. Okay. He does play knight at h4. He prepares knight g6. Okay, now rook takes. Pawn at f2. He just sidesteps that. Xuanet low on time. Really picking up the pace. Okay, the rook falls. Ooh, nice. Picks up that rook over there. Pawn at f7 to finish. 7-2. Wow, Fumitoks. He just kind of ran away with it, didn't he? Okay, knight g2. I'm not a fan of that move. I like queen e2. Okay, so there's some chat in the channel on what Opelwezen needs to qualify. Now we've got Fumitoks with his matches. Let's just have a look at that. So the scoreboard is always just a little bit too big for my screen. Let's just pull it up here. We've got Opelwezen with 8, well it should say 8 matches played, but the spreadsheet's not updated. He's got 8 out of 8. I think it's just not including Fumitoks in this count just yet. 8 out of 8, so GSVC could max at 7.5. 12 team could max at 8 out of 10, so he'd need at least 8.5. On tie breaks though, he should have it against GSVC because GSVC won so many games 6-4, whereas you can see Opelwezen has won a lot more games. So I would figure, do we have actual points? He's got 71% versus 57. Without counting it up even, I'd expect, yeah, and GSVC lost a big one to Oppa, so there should be a big margin. 36, 46 here, 12, 19, 27, 34, 42, yeah, 56, that's huge. I'm not going to count anymore, we'll get back to the game. So pretty much, Opelwezen's got 2 games left, but he only needs to win 5 out of 10. And he'd be home. Sorry, I just missed some of the action here. What happened? So e6, knight f4, knight d5. A knight was taken. Oh, and he opted to lose the queen. But maybe he was thinking bishop takes f4 was viable, but it's not because of knight at f6. Otherwise, I can't see why he'd be giving up the queen here. I would have thought maybe queen d5, queen e4. So I think maybe Fumitoks blundered this one a bit. Xuanet should take the win here. It just looked like it could have been an oversight where maybe he was going for bishop takes f4. I'm not clear why Fumitoks gave up the queen there. But Xuanet will be a happy camper from here. He'll find forced mate nearly. Queen at f6 would be good. No, he's just gonna rip off this bishop. That's clean. So Xuanet's gonna win the last match. Well done to Fumitoks. 7-3, impressive performance, winning a streak of 6. So Fumitoks on 1 out of 2. He's now played 2 matches. Very happy to have him on board because he wasn't going to join us for a while. We're very lucky to have him. He's on 1 out of 2 now. So in fact, that means, you know, Fumitoks theoretically can score 9 out of 11. In fact, Opperwesen needs to score a full point more to ensure Fumitoks isn't the winner of the candidates. Let's not forget Fumitoks. Yeah, if Fumitoks even drops a whole point, if he drops one more match, Opperwesen will only need to score 5 out of 5 against Blitz Bullet or Sexy and I Know It to go through. Okay, it's 4:20 a.m. here. I'm going to head off. I actually probably need to get going on some work. Yeah, really happy to see the candidates still going. Glad to put in just a couple streams this weekend. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. That was a really interesting match. Credit to Fumitoks for such great play. Do we have another match lined up? I don't know if we do. I'm going to quickly check the calendar and then I shall sign off. Yeah, I don't yet see another match lined up, so I'm not sure when the next one will be. But you know, sometimes there's just a flurry of matches that get arranged all at once. We had quite a few this weekend. So I will leave it there. For most of you it's Sunday still, so enjoy what you've got left of your weekend. Continue supporting the candidates by viewing, and of course the Candidates Appreciation Fund, now it's $610, phenomenal support. Keep the donations up. I think we'll be able to get there. I've just got to keep putting up the streams so that we've got the coverage and the viewers are getting what they want. Okay, I'll leave it there. I'll post this on YouTube along with some of the other videos from this weekend. See you next time for more candidates coverage. Take care.